Big news is coming out of the Big Ten, and Ohio State fans might want to circle next season's schedule right now, because one former Buckeye is officially heading back for a little revenge tour, just in a different uniform. The transfer portal continues to reshape college football, and this time, it's claimed another Ohio State player, as safety Cody Haddad has decided to leave Columbus and transfer to Iowa, setting up a future matchup that already has a little extra spice to it. Now, let's break down what this means, why this move makes sense for Haddad, and how it actually impacts Ohio State's future more than you might think. Ohio State has been one of the most active teams in the portal this offseason, and not always by choice. More than 30 players have entered the portal, which is a massive number for any program, even one as deep as the Buckeyes. That kind of turnover usually signals chaos, but Ohio State has done a surprisingly solid job stabilizing things by bringing in experienced talent, especially in the secondary, which took the hardest hit. Multiple safeties and cornerbacks left, forcing Ryan Day and his staff to move fast, and they did just that by landing several proven defensive backs from the portal, including players with all-conference experience. That sudden influx of veteran talent, however, also made the writing pretty clear on the wall for younger players who were still waiting for their opportunity, and Cody Haddad was one of them. Haddad came to Ohio State as a three-star safety in the 2025 recruiting class, a solid prospect with good instincts and physicality, but like many freshmen at Ohio State, he found himself buried on a depth chart loaded with future NFL players. He didn't see meaningful snaps as a true freshman, and once the Buckeyes went portal shopping, his path to playing time became even more difficult. That's when the decision became obvious: stay and wait, or leave and play. Haddad chose the second option, and honestly, Iowa might be the perfect place for him. The Hawkeyes have built their identity on tough, disciplined defense, especially in the secondary, and they're always looking for safeties who can read the field, tackle well, and do the dirty work. Haddad fits that mold perfectly. At Iowa, he's not just another name on a stacked roster, he's a real candidate to compete for early snaps, maybe even a starting role if he proves himself in camp. And here's where things get really interesting: Iowa will host Ohio State next season in Iowa City. That means Haddad could be lining up against the same program he once called home, with something to prove and plenty of motivation. College football loves a good revenge story, and this one is already writing itself. For Ohio State, though, this move is less dramatic than it sounds. The Buckeyes are reloading, not rebuilding. With Caleb Downs potentially heading to the NFL, Ohio State has already lined up multiple options at safety. Jalen McClain is expected to hold down one spot, and transfer addition Terry Moore is a serious candidate to step into a major role if he's fully healthy. The staff clearly prioritized experience over development this offseason, which makes sense for a team that still expects to compete for a national title every year. In that context, Haddad transferring isn't a loss, it's a byproduct of elite depth. Ohio State simply doesn't have the luxury of waiting on players when championship windows are open right now. Still, that doesn't mean Haddad won't thrive. In fact, his chances of success probably increased the moment he left Columbus. Iowa's defensive system is more forgiving for developing safeties, and the Hawkeyes are known for turning under-the-radar players into NFL-caliber contributors. If Haddad earns snaps early, his confidence could skyrocket, and by the time Ohio State comes to town, he might be a completely different player than the one who left. That's what makes the portal era so fascinating: players who might have disappeared on one roster can become impact starters on another. And before we keep going, if you're enjoying this breakdown and want more college football news, transfer updates, and Big Ten storylines all season long, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now, turn on notifications, and join the community, because we're covering every major move, every rumor, and every game that matters. Now, back to the story. From Ohio State's perspective, this offseason has been about plugging immediate holes, not developing future depth, and that strategy tells you everything about their mindset. They're in win-now mode. The Buckeyes know they have elite talent on both sides of the ball, and the staff doesn't want any weak links in the secondary, especially in a conference that's getting more competitive by the year. That's why portal veterans were brought in, even if it meant younger players would move on. Iowa, meanwhile, is building the opposite way: slow, steady, and development-driven. That contrast makes this transfer feel almost poetic. Haddad is moving from a program where patience is rare to one where it's rewarded. It's also worth noting that Big Ten transfers always add intrigue, because these players don't just disappear, they come back to haunt their old teams. Haddad will know Ohio State's tendencies, practice habits, and culture, and while that alone doesn't win games, it adds a layer of emotion that can't be coached. For fans, this is one of those storylines you circle early, because if Haddad gets on the field when Iowa hosts the Buckeyes, the crowd is going to make sure everyone knows where he came from. And that's what the modern transfer portal has done to college football. It's turned regular conference games into personal storylines, revenge games, and redemption arcs. So while this move might not shake up the national title race, it's a perfect example of how roster movement is reshaping the sport. Ohio State loses a young safety it didn't have room for. Iowa gains a motivated defender who wants to prove he belongs, and next season's matchup just got a little more interesting. In the end, this might be a win for everyone involved. Ohio State keeps its elite depth, Iowa adds a hungry player, and Cody Haddad gets the chance to write his own story, this time on a field where he'll actually get the opportunity to show what he can do.